Nah, we're just messing with you guys. You really thought we'd pull that one?
Nah, this is a 4AF MEGABUILD, so hello everybody and welcome back to 4AF. To those who don't know us, I'm Alex.
And I'm Michael.
Okay, Michael.
Alex.
This is going to be a little different. So this isn't the main project that I'm working on at the moment, but it's themed and it's been a lot of fun. So I started this about 2 years ago now, right at the beginning of the channel.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it's old.
Long one in the making.
Yeah, I'm not going to link the video or anything because our quality was terrible, and I don't plan on doing that to either of us.
Oh no.
So, should we get to it?
I think we should.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so let's recap. This was originally made for Halloween and took inspiration from a whole bunch of different places, including real-life haunted houses, seasonal changes, Day of the Dead, and even celebrations or decorations that I've seen for myself. That said, I did take a whole lot of creative liberties, and not just with how many branches that it might take in order to hold up a cauldron of this size. I was mainly focused on bringing these things to life in a Minecraft setting, by doing things one step at a time and seeing how they might fit around the cauldron itself. I'll be the first to admit that the backdrop outside the cauldron is a little lackluster, and that was going to be the first thing that I changed once I got started this time around. The actual apple bobbing idea came from going to Halloween-themed events when I was a kid. I used to love the idea. It was a fun way to incorporate healthier foods in a way that kids would enjoy, and personally I remember it quite fondly. When I built this project, I was right at the beginning of my learning curve with World Edit. Even now I find out different ways to do things with it, new functions, commands. Back then I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I definitely didn't have a clue about all the different commands that I use so routinely now. In places where I didn't know what I was doing, I had to do most of the work by hand. And I'm proud of what I managed, but I'd have saved myself so much time and effort if I'd just researched World Edit beforehand, instead of diving straight in. For example, I had absolutely no idea that you could use the mask command to avoid accidentally replacing any of the blocks, which I use now all the time for terraforming around buildings or structures. Spoilers for anyone interested, the first time around, once I was done with the building process, I actually went ahead and built a little spooky roller coaster as a surprise for Michael. I might take a trip down Nostalgia Lane after all this and go check it out, just to see if I've accidentally broke it by updating to the new Minecraft version. Whenever I work on these projects, I try to take my time and do as much research as I can. It helps me to make decisions about the kind of things that I want to be building, but it also helps me to stay motivated. If I were to only build things that I already knew about or had seen a million times before, it just wouldn't be as interesting. So when I research different cultures or traditions to help me with these builds, they inspire me. I find out so many fascinating things that I'd have never known about otherwise, and sometimes that even inspires me to build those things in Minecraft, including them in whatever I'm working on at the time. This time around, I didn't get the chance to research all that much. We've been really busy on the channel, and though it's a lot of fun, it's also a lot of work. And during the holiday seasons, it can be super hard to find the time to work on these projects. We're still a very small channel, and because of that, we have no support for any of this. Despite that though, I think I did pretty well, and I managed to turn this place around quite a lot, given the time crunch. Side note, this isn't the next actual mega build for the channel, it's a holiday special, and that means it counts as a side project for me. So just heads up, the next one is in the works, but it's still going to be a little while. As for Halloween though, that's right around the corner. Okay, so I said that I try to do my research, and because Halloween has such a big place in my heart, I really enjoyed learning more about it. And I can't wait to share my findings with you. So without further ado, let's cut straight to the chase and get to work, shall we? I already had the centre focus of the build, but something in the cauldron itself gave me an idea. With leaves that huge, somewhere beyond the cauldron there needed to be huge trees. And I knew that I wanted something a little different to what we're used to, with all of our vibrant, lively trees in the past. This is Halloween after all, so I went for something a little more likely to fit the spooky theme, and I started off by constructing the huge towering trunks before thinning out the winding branches. I wanted these trees to look like they're unique, but I also wanted them to blend into one another at the top, giving them this sort of spiderweb branch effect. So I made sure to keep as much of the branches the same shape, size and colour as possible. Apparently, Halloween comes from the ancient Celtic or Gaelic festival, Samhain, which was a pagan harvest festival that was celebrated by lighting bonfires and wearing costumes to ward off ghosts. Now, I don't speak Irish, but apparently that's also the name given to the month of November, which marks the end of the harvest season and the beginning of the darker half of the year, otherwise known as winter. As most people already know, it's long since been believed that during this celebration the wall between our world and the realm of spirits is thinned, allowing spirits to cross over, and in some cases people believe that this is when the spirits of loved ones can visit to see those of us still firmly on our mortal coils. Halloween is roughly dated back to around 2,000 years ago, and back then the original celebrators didn't believe that the spirits coming to visit were friendly visitors, so it was their responsibility to don costumes and scare them away. Halloween is a special time for many people, a lot of whom worship or adhere to very different traditions. One such tradition, belonging to Wicca, is that Halloween is the perfect time to honour nature, life and rebirth. In particular rebirth, because Halloween was considered to be the witch's new year, and is still largely acknowledged as a powerful spiritual milestone today. As with celebrations such as Mexico's Day of the Dead, Wiccans celebrate death as a natural part of the cycle of nature, and while it's sad that loved ones have left us, and it's not something to seek out, death is necessary for the creation of new life and new beginnings. Day of the Dead is slightly different, in that unlike many other traditions, it's primarily celebrated on the 1st and 2nd of November, with a few exceptions such as trying to coordinate for family gatherings, which let me tell you is a real pain no matter what you're celebrating, even if it's all worth it in the end. Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, is also an ancient festival with far-reaching roots, so far-reaching in fact that it can be traced back to Mesoamerican culture way before the Spanish arrived in Latin America. The Aztec, Toltec, and Nahua people, sorry if I'm pronouncing anything wrong, these people believed death to be a part of the community, and even mourning someone's passing was seen as disrespectful, a foreign concept to a lot of people today, but a truly fascinating difference. And this was because it was a common belief that the soul of the person who died isn't actually dead, and that instead they've moved on to a place of rest, beginning their journey to the land of the dead, which has a name I'm going to have to put up on the screen for everyone else, because I'm really sorry, I'm English and I don't want to butcher it. Reaching this place of rest was a challenge though, literally, because in order for a soul to reach the land of the dead, they actually had to face challenges. To help them in these challenges, friends and loved ones could provide offerings of food or tools. And this celebration was originally held during the summer months. It was only after the introduction of pagan and Catholic beliefs to the areas that the festival was relocated to match with All Hallows' Eve and All Saints' Day. Now the celebrations happen from October 31st all the way through to November the 2nd, with the commemoration focus on different age groups during the different days. It was finally time to add in the trees, and I'm really sorry guys, but at this point my replay actually broke. I got a lovely full page crash log and I completely lost the entire process of me placing the trees in. So to talk you through it, I pasted in the different variants that I made earlier in Superflat, making sure to place them at different heights, with some that would have had their branches overlooking the others. I tried to space them out evenly and lift them up high enough that I could build in their elaborate curvy roots above ground below them. I wanted them all to be unique so that they weren't samey, but also because I wanted them to be able to be placed closer together, and that meant that if I wanted to avoid the roots clipping into one another, I had to place those sections in by hand. I did use World Edit though, and I used sand to create the roots. I made sure to smooth out the really obvious spheres that can detract from the shape that you're trying to make, because while trees can be pretty gnarled, their root structures are usually quite smooth, and obviously they're supposed to be structurally sound. One of the fun things that I learned while I was building these is that trees actually grow a whole system of roots above and below ground, and not all of them are actually to support the tree. It is, however, unusual for the roots of trees to end up on one side of the plant, and that's usually through human intervention or sudden changes in the terrain. Say there's a flood or a sudden shift in the land that causes the tree to drop. And that's because the root systems themselves work similarly to a human brain, in that the left side of the roots are responsible for the growth of the right side of the tree and vice versa. How cool is that? Now that the trees have been placed in and I've bored you all with my nerd rants, it was time to focus on the project at hand. Halloween. Campfires and costumes. I've already got my Minecraft Halloween skin on thanks to our survival series, so there was only one thing left to do. What I was doing here was actually individually saving the different stages as separate rocks so that I could place them all in at different sizes while keeping the same textures. To anyone who's stuck around and been privy to the mega builds on this channel since the beginning, first, I'd like to say a big thank you to you and a massive I'm sorry for the audio quality. But second, you might recognise the method behind my madness here when it comes to constructing the fire itself. In the first episode of this mega build 2 very long years ago, I tested out this idea with stained glass to help generate the canopy for the tree, which back then I opted for 3 different colours that I could distinguish and replace with air should I need to. And then as I was slowly replacing each colour with air, I increased the gaps between the blocks. Personally, I think it's a really good method for this kind of build, just because neither the tree canopy or any kind of fires like flames are going to be solid objects, and having those gaps really breaks it up and allows you to see the other colours between them a lot better. Now this is a Halloween build, and as such, I couldn't drop the ball here and forget about the autumnal vibes. We have massive trees, and 2 years ago, I made some massive leaves that were about to get a whole second lease on life. I placed them sporadically at first, using 6 different designs, some of which were new, to be sure that I had a good range of colours, shapes, and angles. I wanted to use them as a carpet cover, just like in real life right now, but I also didn't want to drown out the textures on the different floor levels because I had a plan for those too. While I was texturing the different floor surfaces, I made sure to keep the lighter blocks to the areas that the light from above would be able to reach between the branches of the trees. Adding that mottled contrast really helped to bring it to life, especially with all the leaves to add that splash of colour, given how flat the actual terrain was. Well then, I suppose it's probably a good time to say Happy Halloween, because as I added the last few leaves to mix up the colours even further and really make the floor pop, I knew this project was coming to a close. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's made it this far. We love you all, it's incredible that the channel has managed the growth that it has, and even if we're still tiny, I'd just like to remind you that we do actually sit and read everyone's lovely comments and suggestions. They're a big help, and the positive feedback we've had on the mega builds has been amazing, so thank you all. I'm not going to keep you waiting anymore. One finished mega build with a few extra spooky decorations coming right up.